Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Ironess Insights. I have another great guest here, Toolie Merchant, President and Chief Consultant of Corporate Agile Mastery. Toolie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Alex. It's nice to be here.
Where are you calling from today?
Bellevue, Washington, about 15 miles east of Seattle. So,
Amazing. On the West Coast. Yeah, so we're on a
yeah.
Friday. I'm a little bit closer to the end of the day than you on the East Coast right now. Well, thanks for joining. I'm very curious. So, why don't you give us a little bit of your background and, how you got to the position you are today?
Well, my career path is a long and winding road. I didn't
Mhm.
start out as a geek, but I became one. For the last 30 years, I've been involved directly with developers. That's been my passion, my curiosity. I started at Microsoft in 1993 and worked there as a full-time employee for 10 years, then went out on my own as an entrepreneur. Came back to corporate America in 2012 and worked for a startup
Mhm.
working on streaming databases. And that's where I first encountered Agile. I didn't really understand it. Nobody really explained it. Everybody seemed to know except me. And I just kind of went along with all the daily stand-ups and the stuff that I didn't understand. It wasn't until my next assignment that I really studied it, really fell in love with it. And I used those skills on that next assignment. I was working primarily as a contractor because I kept hoping to get back to entrepreneurship. And the more I got involved with Agile, the more I liked it. And so I became a Scrum Master initially, got certified, and have just been going ever since. So worked for big companies like, well, Microsoft for one, but also Boeing, Expedia, Expeditors, Disney, Starbucks, Alaska Airlines. I mean, big, big companies. And I've also worked for some startups. But it's all about Agile for me, and it's all about the human side of Agile. So that's my point of view. That's what I'm focused on right now.
Nice. So, I mean, it sounds like so you got out of corporate America, back to entrepreneurship, and but you sounds like you found your way back to those big companies for some reason. I mean, obviously there's a calling there, right? That because that's where there's a lot of you said the human side of things. Well, there's a lot of
Hmm.
humans in the larger companies. So
Yes.
where do you think your focus is now with your business?
I really want to get into these sort of mid-level companies where I
Okay.
can have more influence than some of the big enterprises.
Mm,
Those folks tend to be set in their ways. It's the I would say from 500 to 10,000 employees where I
mhm,
feel like I can do the most good. And that's a two-pronged approach for me.
mhm,
The first would be checking to make sure that the people who are doing Agile actually understand how to do Agile. It's been around for 25 years, and everybody kind of thinks that you learn Agile by osmosis, and you don't. I just came across a statistic, less than 50% of companies it actually make sure that their teams are doing Agile correctly. So that's the first thing is come back in and say, let's all get on the same page. Now, Agile is flexible, but you have to come to a consensus as to how you're going to operate.
mhm.
And that's where a lot of teams fall down. And a lot of teams can also be very um, internally focused and not really think about the fact that they have to cooperate with other teams. And despite the freedom of Agile to make your own schedule, if you will, um, you're still tied to schedules, other people's schedules, and you have to have processes between teams. Okay, so that's the first one.
Mhm.
Secondly, the leadership, the people who are doing the coordinating, we're talking about Scrum Masters, product owners, Kanban managers, even project managers, they need training in leadership by influence,
Mhm.
which is a different animal than managerial training. Most of those people, the Scrum Masters, Scrum leaders, and Kanban leaders, are not managers of the teams that they lead.
Mhm.
And so you have to develop certain kinds of skills in order to influence them, to motivate them, to get them to concentrate, and to trust you to get the work done in a timely manner. So those are the two prongs of my work. Now, I also teach certification classes evenings and weekends for the people who want to get certified. Then right now I'm teaching 3 Scrum classes,
Mhm.
but I want to make sure that people who interact with Agile teams also understand it so they know what to expect. And that includes stakeholders. So
Hmm.
there's a lot to it. And it's this second prong, this leadership angle, leading by influence, that is almost not understood at all. And it's not something that was taught to me either. It's something I had to figure out as I went along. And specifically, because I was coming in as a contractor, I really didn't have leverage. So I really had to put my thinking cap on and create relationships with team members and everybody else to engender the trust so I could get the work done.
Yeah, I think that second prong is for the leadership role. I mean, that is something it's very unique. It's not exactly tangible or teachable, right? I mean, there's certain people that are leaders and not. Now, I think you can be influenced as an individual and become a leader. You're not necessarily born one.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you see a lot of previous leaders or CEOs or that are the ones teaching these, or like you said, you were a contractor when you rolled into this. So I mean, you kind of were figuring it out as you went, right?
Yeah, I really was.
Hmm.
Yeah. A lot of it is modeled. And this only happens if you're in a large enough enterprise or a large enough company where there's more than one of you.
Hmm.
And that's the other aspect of this is that a lot of Scrum Masters, Scrum product owners, Kanban managers, there might be one, maybe two, maybe three of you in your whole company, depending on the size.
Hmm.
And so you're either figuring it out on your own, which I did, or you're observing someone else who knows how to do it. It really is almost a mentorship, a mentor and protege relationship to make that happen. Starbucks was an example for me. I was on a team of, I think there were 12 of us. Nine of them were project managers. There were three Scrum Masters, and I was the most experienced. And I was the one who's helping the other two figure out how to lead by influence. And I didn't even have the phrase for that at that point. This is
Yeah,
something that I've worked out over time.
sure.
So, yeah, you really need that kind of leadership or mentorship or someone to observe to see how it's done.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine that being one of the more difficult um, avenues there.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, and how long have you been doing this right now?
15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
And so where do you find you mentioned you're focused on 500 to like 10,000 employees,
Yeah.
kind of this mid-tier market, right? Now, how are you getting the majority of your business? Is this all through word of mouth? I mean, you've been doing this a while. I imagine you've made a bunch of great connections throughout your tenure.
Well, I've been doing Agile for 15 years. I've only
Mhm.
been doing this aspect of my business for the last 6 or 7 months.
Oh, okay.
So most of my leads come through LinkedIn.
Okay.
I've spent a
Interesting.
lot of time understanding how LinkedIn works.
Hmm.
And so I'm starting to do much more outreach that way. I had to get a bunch of things set up, but I really wanted to share my Agile understanding this way. For example, I spent about 4 months recording some of the key aspects of this approach and putting them up on a YouTube channel, which anybody can visit. It's youtube.com/ at Toolie, Tooliem. And you'll see, I'm talking about Agile, but I'm not talking about the mechanics of it.
Hmm.
That you can learn in a certification class. I'm talking about the leadership aspect.
Hmm.
So that took some time. And now with that pool of information and pool of evidence of my expertise behind me, now is the time I can do the LinkedIn outreach to really bring in the leads that I'm looking for. So,
Yeah, that's really interesting. Are you targeting any specific niche or type of company or just the size? I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter, right?
well, it doesn't. That's the beauty of Agile. I've
Yeah.
applied Agile to a
Yeah.
marketing team. In fact, I've done it more than once.
Hmm.
The principles are transferable across types.
Right.
Right now, because I know the industry really well, I'm focused on software development companies of
Hmm.
that size. But I spoke to a company about 2 weeks ago that is a publisher of books, gift books, and gift about the possibility of doing that work for them as well.
Hmm.
So, I know how to apply the principles across industries, but right now I'm focused on software development because my expertise is most obvious in that scenario.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the low-hanging fruit for you, right? It's
Yep,
if you're familiar with it, might as well start off where you're strong, right?
exactly.
So what do you think? So what do you think's working well? And you've been doing this 6 months. You know, the LinkedIn's working well to find now find these new potential clients. But no, walk me through when you get hired, or you step foot in the office, or you have that first the first meeting on Zoom, and how does it go?
Well, it's a series of meetings. Usually, the
Uh-huh.
work that I'm doing on LinkedIn attracts people. They ask questions. I am not the kind of person who likes to cold call. I really would prefer using content to draw people in
Mm-hmm.
and have them self-identify. So there is a series of conversations where we identify where the real pain points are, and then, negotiations as to how much involvement they want. I really prefer to work with the leadership first, because if you can get top-down understanding of how Agile works, there's less friction making changes at that level. Now, you can mandate that people have to change the way they're doing their Agile practice. That doesn't necessarily make it successful. Again, I would rather work with the top level folks first and let that sort of seep down into the teams themselves. I don't work directly as a Scrum Master, for example. Kind of been there, done that, and I'm really looking for a higher level of involvement in the leadership and the thinking and the approach. I've done a lot of business analysis, for example, gone in and looked at processes, diagrammed things out, and highlighted where the friction points are. That's where I feel like I'm most valuable, is when I'm talking to the people who are know there's something wrong and they just can't put their finger on it, or people with interpersonal issues. Sometimes it's differences in expectations about, when things are going to ship. That's probably the number one issue. You got a project manager who's got a schedule and they want to know when the stuff's going to be done. Well, if they understand that the team has divvied up the information or divvied up the work to be done in very specific segments, they can monitor that, they can track that. So those are examples of things where I come in and try to remove the friction points, but I don't step into the role of project manager or scrum master. And that's, again, a negotiable aspect to this. How exactly do you want me to deal with these people? And that's where the mentorship usually comes in. So first I'm talking to the leadership, we're setting some standards, we're setting some expectations. Then I'm working with the leaders of the teams in a mentorship role. So,
Yeah, I mean that's really interesting. So you said you actually will literally dissect and do some business analysis, right?
yeah.
But then you said something very interesting, which is interpersonal, which is maybe someone just has the wrong attitude or
Yeah.
or the wrong expectation, like you said.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
and a lot of it, so you think a lot of it is even managing the expectations of someone and
Yes.
helping them understand the entire process as a whole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why I'm targeting that segment, that sort of mid-level segment of people, because I think I'm going to have a greater ability to affect change to
Hmm.
people who are open to it. Right now, I'm in the process of highlighting a lot of pain points, and people are going to start to say, "Yeah, that sounds like us. What can we do together?" And everything's negotiable, but I have in mind a framework that I think is going to be most successful. But again, Agile being flexible, you can pick and choose what's going to happen. But uh, to that one company that I talked to recently, I said, there are three ways we can do this. But if you really want to be successful, let me come in and analyze how you're doing things. Let me look at your processes. And they're cogitating, they're thinking about it. So,
Yeah,
hey,
good, good. I hope you get in there. I think I
yeah, me
think
too.
I think you will. That's awesome. So I mean, you're only 6 months. It's so fresh. So I mean, where do you want to be in 6 months from now, like year end?
Well, I would like to have a couple of things. One thing I haven't talked about yet is my private chat server for peers.
Uh-huh.
In other words, because Scrum Masters, Scrum Product Owners, Project Managers tend to be alone, one or two in their companies, I've set up a private chat server where people can come and get help directly from me. Right now it's free. I may turn it into a subscription at some point, but I'm trying to build a community where Agile professionals can hang out. Because I was talking to my business mentor, and he was saying, well, where do you people hang out? And I kind of went, nowhere. They don't have a place to. And then, ding, the light bulb goes on, and you go, well, let me build one. Let me build a community where people can come in, and sometimes it's just venting. Sometimes it's,
Right.
people coming and saying, I've got this one person, I don't know what to do. And, as a group, we can work it out. And so from there, sometimes I get leads for a potential, you really helped me. Let me introduce you to my boss kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
What an
others,
amazing support group.
yeah, it's still building. We're still small, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I really, that I think would be one of the most valuable things I can do. Um, as far as the rest of it, I would like to have some mentorships going for the people who, companies sponsoring their employees to be mentored, because every additional thing you can teach them smooths the path to delivery of software. And every training that you invest in Agile smooths the path for developers to do the work, to speak up when they need to and say, this it ain't gonna happen. Let's do it this way. That speeds up delivery. When you literally grease the wheels with education and mentorship, things get smooth out and you can deliver quality software. I have a motto, which I'm hoping to trademark, is happy humans equals better software.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
me, it's straightforward and simple, but not everybody sees it that way yet.
Do you find that developers do hesitate to speak up when needed?
Yes, very much so. And that has been a slow erosion of the understanding of what Agile is.
Mhm.
A lot of it is systemic. It is the pressure of corporations needing to show numbers,
Yeah.
and unreasonably so. And this isn't just in software development. This is anybody who's a publicly traded company, on the market is under pressure to deliver for shareholders. And because of that, some of that commitment to employees and desire to provide a good work environment for them so they will get the work done,
Mhm.
that has eroded over time. And so I'm pushing back on that. I'm really trying to bring that humanity back, because when it's there, things go a lot better.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if people are happier at work, like you said, I love what can you say that tagline again?
Yeah, happy humans.
Yeah.
And then when I write it out, it's a double equal sign, which is a little cue to developers.
Hmm.
Double equals better software.
Nice.
And I
Nice.
have known that since I started working with at Microsoft, oh so many years ago. It
Oh,
became very
wow.
to me. Yeah.
I love that. So if you had a magic wand right now today, and you could fix one thing, what do you think? What do you think you would try to fix right now?
Oh, you're gonna make me choose. Okay. It would be empowering the developers again.
Oh, interesting. I had a feeling you would say something like that just by
Yeah.
listening to
Yeah.
you, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I mean, there are several aspects to the empowerment, but I think because you're listening to the people who are actually doing the work, and bear in mind, the leaders of these companies, even the software companies, aren't necessarily developers themselves.
Mm,
They may not know. They literally may not know. They may learn over time. And occasionally, you've come across someone who has risen through the ranks, started out as a developer tech lead, and then went into management, and then moved up the ranks. And they may have that background, but they don't necessarily get to keep up. Let's see, this was at uh, Alaska Airlines. There was a person who had exactly that path, but she didn't have time to keep up with the latest and greatest. She understood, the principles, and that was very helpful. She was a great boss, but she, they're not involved in the day to day. They don't have time.
right.
So listening to the people who are actually doing the work and empowering them to say no and making it okay to negotiate
Hmm.
is huge. That I think if you can unstick that part of the process, good things will happen.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think people want to be heard and no one wants to be rushing to put out a subpar product or yeah. I mean
Because
this I mean
that'll come back and burn you too.
exactly. That doesn't that end, at the end of the day that's going to burn you even twice as bad, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Than missing a deadline or extending a deadline, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for hopping on today. I want to congratulate you on your new venture
Thank
and
you.
your 6 months of success. Where can our listeners find you? And you mentioned the YouTube earlier, and I'll put that
Okay.
below the video here.
Well, the main site they should probably visit is corporateagilemastery.com.
Okay.
From there, they can see the kinds of things that I can do with companies. There's information about mentorships. I also have links to my other site for certifications. So if you want to send your Scrum people or Kanban people to get certified, that's remotescrumstudy.com. I'm an authorized training partner for a global certification body. So those are the two main sites. And then the private chat is practicalscrum.com. And again, that's a free community to join for Agile professionals who just would like to have somebody to talk to about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for hopping on today. I really
You
appreciate
bet.
your time. I'll put
Thank you.
those links here below the video and have a good rest of your Friday.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.